Today I'm going to talk about a decision that we face every time that we get the first opportunity at the table, and that is the decision of whether we go reds or yellows. Now, before I get into today's video, can I just ask, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, then can you please hit the subscribe button and the bell as well, so that you're notified anytime a video is released. Now, as I say, we are going to look at the decision between reds and yellows. If you make a ball off the break or your opponent breaks dry, then you are going to be faced with this decision. And this is a decision that will depend on a number of different factors. You have to work out which colour set is the best for you to go for it, which colour set has the problems, how do you solve the problems on each colour set, and how easy can you make the frame for yourself. And there is no right or wrong answer. It is completely subjective, and everyone will have a different opinion on which way to go about not just finishes or developing balls, but which colour set to take on as well. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to have a few breaks, and I'm going to see how the lay of the table is, and I'm going to talk you through my thought process as I'm trying to work out which colour set I would take on in each of the frames. So let's get started with the first one. Okay, so the first thing I want to look at here is, do I have a first ball? Because the white's finished really awkward, and looking at it here, there is only really one choice here, and that is yellows. So the yellow here is the only ball I can actually pot. So that isn't the end of the decision though, because I have to decide whether, just because I have a yellow on, that doesn't mean I want to go yellows. If I decide that reds are the right colour set, then I need to play a good safety, stop my opponent from taking reds, or tease them by asking them to go yellows. So I need to work out whether yellows are my choice. So looking at yellows here, what are my problems? And you can see these ones at the bottom, these are all fine, that's fine, that one's fine. And there's one obvious problem, and that's this ball here. It may just squeeze off the jaw and off the red, but it's awfully tight, and one that I probably wouldn't be comfortable taking on. And then of course you've got this ball here as well, so that's a problem. So I've got to look and decide, is the clearance the way to go on yellows? And I'm looking at it and I'm just seeing this yellow into the center pocket here, and if I can come to somewhere low on it, so if that's straight here, somewhere here, I can pop that into the corner and then go up into this area here, hopefully play the skill shot, making sure I stay on this yellow to the center, and that should give me a chance to clear up. So for me, I've decided that taking on the yellows is a better option than playing safe and trying to get reds later on in the visit. So I would have a go at yellows from here. Okay, so this is a break I haven't hit very well. They haven't split perfectly at the bottom. I haven't had that many balls come up the table, so it's still the same process, working out what I want to do here. And this time I have a choice of potting both colour sets, so I can certainly get into both of them. So now it's a case of working out whether I would like to take on reds or yellows. Now my first thought is yellows here. I've got this whole cluster here to work out, and I was just trying to look to see if I can land on this ball here. If I can drop that in, then every ball has a pocket, and this ball does actually have half a pocket into the corner. I could drop this in, try and land here to be able to pop that into the corner. So yellows are definitely a chance, but I want to have a quick glance at reds before I make that decision. Now the only red I could take on from here is this one into the center, and I can drop this in. There isn't then a nux pot here in the middle of the table, but there is this one, and these two are problem balls. So if I was to take reds on, it would have to be drop that in the center, pop that, and then come into them. So I'd have to try and develop a cluster. So I think the more controllable way of trying to clear these up would be to take on yellows. I would probably look to clear this one at the top of the table, get the white back to here so I can drop that in the center, drift down into this area here, take that to the corner, and then every ball's got a pocket. It's just about picking my route from there. So I think yellows for me are the controllable way to go. Another dry break, which is frustrating for my break, but not a problem for what we're trying to do here, because we just treat this as though your opponent's broken dry and you come to the table with this layout. And again, the first thing I'm looking at is, what options have I got? And I've got definitely got the first ball on both colour sets. I can see the yellow here. That's the only yellow I can pot, and I've got multiple reds I can pot. So what options do I have? What problem balls? Well, looking at reds, that red there doesn't go to the corner, so that's a real problem, and this red doesn't go anywhere. If I take yellows, then, the only yellow I could take is this one over the corner, but from there, every yellow has a pocket. Coming around here, I can see that one goes in that's centre pocket. These two can unfold and open each other up. So depending on the order, that one obviously has a problem. Now, the yellow at the top of the table would be a long way from my work, so that would be a problem ball, but there is enough room to land on it on both sides of the table. So the only other ball to consider would be the 8-ball. And because I've got yellows nearby, I can play a little nudge shot just to open up the 8-ball, because it doesn't actually go in any pocket apart from this centre pocket, if I can get the cue ball here. So definitely the option for clearing up for me is a no-brainer. You have to take yellows here to be able to make the clearance. I don't think reds are an option for clearance, but the reds maybe. You might want to take reds and think about slowing the frame down and making it awkward if you don't fancy the clearance on yellows. But again, it will come down to personal preference, how you see the frame, and obviously your ability, and whether you feel like you should clear up or not. Because if you go for the yellows and don't make the clearance, then you might make reds easier, because you might open up a couple of those reds at the bottom. So those are the sorts of decisions you'd have to work out for yourself. Okay, dry break again, so I'm having to treat this like my opponent's broken dry, and I'm at the table assessing what he's left me. And first look is, can I take reds or yellows? And yes, I can. I can take this yellow, I can take this yellow, this red goes in the centre. Now, what can I do from an attacking sense? Well, if I take on yellows, then I've got a problem, because this yellow here, that's a real problem ball. I can pop one of these, that's going to open up the other one. But I would have to work out this yellow here. But the options on reds are even worse, because those two reds are a real problem. And my first pot has to be this ball here. I don't have a great ball to develop either of those two reds at the top of the table. I'd have to try and land somewhere here. Not much margin of error to be able to go into them, or have to try and get into it from one of the balls at the bottom, which is really, really difficult. So I don't like reds from an attacking sense at all. And of course, remember, we're playing international 8-ball rules here. If we were playing black ball rules, I could play the red onto the yellow and open up that yellow hit like within that same shot, but can't do that. You have to take on the ball, the colour set that you're going for. So for me, it would definitely be yellows. I would be looking at this yellow to the top corner, just resting into the other one. The cue ball's going to come somewhere here, and then I'm looking for an angle on that one to go into this bad ball here, just to nudge it open. Doesn't have to be a huge amount of pace, but just enough to open it up, knowing that I should have a yellow here and a yellow here to stay on the bad ball once I've moved it or hopefully developed it. So yellows would be my choice. And that is how I would start off the finish, and depending on how the first two shots go and how my developing shot goes will then make the decision on how the rest of the finish goes. But yellows have to be the choice here for me. Okay, another dry break. So the break's not really working today. I feel like I'm hitting it well, but they're not opening up as much as I would really like, or I'm not making a ball as much as I'd really like, I should say. Okay, so this is another layout that we're going to have to make a decision on. First thought was reds. It was just immediately sort of looking at the table. All the reds feel like they've got a pocket, but I need to analyse it properly. And looking at it, this red here, so this red here does not have a pocket. It doesn't go to the corner. This one does, so I have an angle. I'd be able to pot that one, but it's not easy to develop that one from this one unless you've got the perfect angle. I'd have to play a developing shot to try and develop this one. That's a very good ball to be able to develop it. Pot that, let the white come in and target it, knowing that you could stay on that ball to the centre as well. So reds would be my choice. largely because I don't have a good yellow to go for. I would have given yellow some consideration, but this is a bad yellow, that's a bad yellow, or it goes once that one's out of the way, but this one doesn't have a pocket as well. So the fact that I don't have a starting yellow isn't a big problem, because the rest of the yellows aren't a great option either. So for me, it has to be reds. And I always like to attack my bad ball first. There's some argument to saying get rid of this ball down the rail first, drop it in, leave that shot there to go into the ball here. But there is an argument to say take that one first, play that shot, go into that ball, then first from there, which is probably the way I would play it, backing myself to get back to a good area on this one down the rail, because this one down the rail is a good ball to get me to these two at the top of the table. It would, if I get rid of this red on the rail first, I'd have to play a positional shot. Assuming I develop this one, I'd then have to play a positional shot for one of these three reds here to come up the table into this area here, which is, the cue ball's got to move quite a long way, which I don't particularly like. Whereas if I leave this red here, then the positional shot from one of these three would be about trying to get the cue ball into this area here, so that I can then drop that one down the rail and I can stay on this one and then make that one my last ball for the 8 ball into the corner. So I would definitely be leaving this red here, and I'll be taking on the clearance on reds. Okay, so potted the cue ball this time, which gives us much more options, but it's definitely one that we still need to make a very good decision on reds or yellows. We are playing international 8 ball rules, so all I have here is cue ball anywhere behind the break line, and I just have normal shots. So if I miss my first shot, I turn the table over. So I can place the cue ball anywhere behind this line, and then I can take on either colour set. Now we know that, what we're going to do, well, of course, we could take on either reds or yellows. And a quick look at the table, obviously these two yellows are no problem, these three are no problem, but this is a real problem ball on yellows. So I already don't like yellows, because this ball is actually a difficult one to work out. I'd have to play a very good shot from somewhere, possibly this one if I got low, play that, come into it, but don't really like it as an option, not guaranteed to knock it into a good position, so I don't like yellows at all. Reds, I still have the same problem, this little ball here, much more solvable though in my opinion, because if I land anywhere here, I've got this massive area here, I can land on this red to the centre, drop it in, this red then goes to the corner, I've got this one to play on, I've got this one to play on. I wouldn't want this to be my last ball, but I'm very happy to for it to be a ball to get me onto either of those two, to make the clearance. So I think for me it has to be reds. Well, I hope this video has given you a bit of an insight into the way I think about things when we're making that decision, reds or yellows after the break. As you can see, I'm always looking for what are the problem balls, what way can I solve the problem balls, which colour set is easier to solve those problems with, is there a clearance on, which is kind of what I've always want to do. I'm always trying to be aggressive, I'm always looking for those first visit finish options, but you know, be careful about trying to be too aggressive. The more aggressive you are, and you don't clear up, then the easier you're going to make it for your opponent. So you kind of need to almost find your level and then make your decisions based on it. But I have to say, you know, the decisions that I made in this little video aren't necessarily, I'm not saying they're right, I'm not saying they're the way you have to go. They were the decisions I made for me at the time. It's the way I saw it. I'd probably watch this back and maybe think differently about some of them, but that's just the nature of pool and the decisions that we make. And all I'm really trying to do with this video is highlight the way I was thinking about things, the sorts of things I felt I needed to think about to be able to make the decisions. The decisions may be right, they may be wrong, but these are the processes you need to have to be able to make those decisions. And these are the things you do need to think about when making the decision. You can't just come to the table and see 2 or 3 pots and think, well, I can pot those 3 and then we'll work it out from there. You have to kind of analyze and consider the whole table and how the whole frame is going to play out, because this decision is such a key one. It can really, you know, determine how the frame goes. It can put you on the back foot if you make the decision poorly. It can give you a great chance if you make a good decision. Even if that doesn't mean clearing up, it could be a good decision that allows you to play the killer safety shot, which then allows you to clear up from the next visit. But these are the sorts of things you need to think about. So as I said, love to hear from you guys. Comment below, let me know if you agree with any of my decisions. If you didn't, which way would you have gone? And of course, please hit the subscribe button. I've got plenty more content on the way, and I'll catch you next time.